I owned the Dybbuk Box, and it ruined my life. I never believed in curses, ghost stories. Sure, they were fun around a campfire, but real haunted objects? Nonsense. That's why when I stumbled upon the old wooden wine cabinet at an estate sale in Oregon, I didn't think twice before buying it. It was small, intricately carved, and had a strangely heavy presence to it. When I picked it up, I expected to feel wood, but instead the box seemed cold, too cold. The woman selling it, a frail, elderly lady, watched me carefully as I inspected it. Just before I handed over the cash, she placed a trembling hand over mine. "Do you know what this is?" I hesitated. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I shrugged. "An old wine box?" She shook her head, her grip tightening. "It's a Dybbuk box. My grandmother always said it was cursed. She brought it from Poland after escaping the Holocaust. She made us promise never to open it." I should have listened, but I didn't. I took the box home and placed it in my antique shop, thinking it would make for an interesting conversation piece. That night, I left the shop in the hands of my assistant, a young woman named Emily, while I ran some errands. Less than an hour later, my phone rang. Emily was sobbing. "There's someone in the shop," she gasped. "They're breaking things, but I can't see anyone." I sped back as fast as I could. When I got there, the place was in ruins. Shelves knocked over, glass shattered, furniture overturned. But there was no sign of a break-in, no alarms tripped, nothing stolen. I checked the security footage, expecting to see some vandal causing mayhem. Instead, I saw something far worse. The footage showed the shelves collapsing, objects flying off the walls by themselves. Emily had been cowering in a corner, watching in horror as something invisible destroyed the store. The only thing untouched? The Dybbuk box. That night, I took the box home. Big mistake. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding. In my dream, a dark, faceless figure stood over me, its breath cold against my skin. It didn't move, it just watched. The next night, I had the same dream, but this time the figure got closer, more defined. I could almost see its eyes, deep pits of pure blackness. On the third night, I woke up with 3 deep scratches running down my back. I lived alone. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I scratched myself in my sleep. Maybe I was stressed. But deep down, I knew the truth. Something from the box had followed me home. A few days later, my house began to smell. At first, it was faint, like old damp wood, but soon it grew stronger, rotting flesh mixed with ammonia. No matter how much I cleaned, no matter how many candles I burned, the stench lingered. It clung to my clothes, my sheets, even my skin. Then I started seeing things. It began subtly, shadows flickering in my peripheral vision, lights flickering, objects shifting slightly when I wasn't looking. One night I woke up to the sound of whispering, low, guttural, and not in any language I recognized. I held my breath, straining to hear. It was coming from inside the box. The whispers turned to scraping, a slow, deliberate scratching sound, as if something inside was trying to get out. That was the first time I truly felt afraid. I decided to get rid of the box. I planned to take it back to the shop, but when I picked it up, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The latch was undone. I knew, without a doubt, that I had locked it. My hands trembled as I reached out, barely nudging the lid. The moment it opened even an inch, a blast of ice-cold air hit me, carrying that same rotting stench straight into my lungs. Inside, there were a few odd trinkets, a lock of hair, an old coin, and a dried-up rose. But what caught my attention was something much, much worse. At the very bottom of the box was a small, crumpled piece of paper with my name on it. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the box. How? How was that possible? That's when the lights cut out. Total darkness. The air in the room felt thick, pressing against my skin like a living thing. And then, a low, rasping breath sounded right next to my ear. I ran. The next morning, I called my mother, needing to hear a familiar voice. I told her about the nightmares, the smell, the shadows. She told me to stop being dramatic. I was overreacting. So, for her birthday, I gifted her the box. An hour later, she had a massive stroke. She survived, but she never spoke properly again. I knew, deep down I knew, it was because of the box. Terrified, I sold it. Each new owner reported the same horrors: horrific nightmares, shadow figures, unexplained fires. One man's entire house burned down within a week of receiving it. The final owner, Jason Haxton, a museum director, grew violently ill, his skin breaking out in welts, his lungs filling with fluid. He claimed to have visions of an old hag choking him in his sleep. He had the box sealed away and buried in a secret location, hoping to put an end to the nightmare. You'd think that would be the end of it, that burying the box would put an end to whatever was inside, but it didn't. I still see the shadows. I still hear the whispers. Some nights, I wake up unable to move, feeling that same icy breath on my neck. And last night, I found a familiar wooden box sitting at the foot of my bed, with the latch undone, and a new note inside, written in my own handwriting. "Let me out.